Hey, what's up everybody? So today I want to give you guys a walk around of my machine back here, all the upgrades that I've done to it, the things that I want to do to it, and the reasons that I have done those things. And kind of put a little bit of a list together for those of you who have these machines. You know, some things to look out for and upgrades I would say are very important to do very quickly. So let's jump straight in. Okay, so first off, you know, most people's first upgrade they're going to do is going to be wheels and tires. Now, I went with System 3 setup on mine, and these are 35s. And this is the 72-inch model, the XRS Turbo R. So it's got a nice wide stance. There's nothing really else that needs to be done to it if you are going to run 35s. But there are some things that you're going to want to consider if you are going to do it. Now, these are true bead locks here. I love these things. They're wearing extremely well for the conditions that I ride in, which is mainly desert and mountain riding. Not a lot of sand, but kind of a lot of rock crawling as well. These tires are phenomenal, so highly recommend them. These are the 350 XCRs from System 3, so that's something that I would definitely take a look at. So I did do the shock therapy upgrade on these. The stock springs on these, and this is just something that you're going to see over time. The stock springs go flat and the ride gets a little bouncy, and I just think if you're gonna spend the money on something on a good upgrade, definitely get some good springs. I love these shock therapy springs. I dialed them in for a little bit more heavy weight, so it's a bit stiffer, and it does sit up a bit higher. I've got some good ground clearance on the machine just because I like to do rocks. Let's jump back in here again real quick. So currently I am running the Super ATV high clearance A-arms. These are fine. I don't know if they're gonna stick with me forever. I'm not having any problems with them. They seem to do okay. No real issues there. So I know that there's some talk about the stock ones flattening out or breaking. So I would say that this is gonna be on an upgrade list for most people if you're really gonna ride the machine super hard. So that's just something to keep in mind. Again, I don't know if these are gonna stay, but they might. You might see a little bit of an oil leak right here. This is actually from my differential. I filled it. It does actually have a leak. It's actually leaking from the case on the seam, so that's something that's gonna come out, you know, later, and you guys can see that. So hey, if you happen to stumble upon this video, it is a new channel. Please make sure you subscribe, join in. We'll be talking about all kinds of things with these machines and a multitude of others out on the trail and having fun. Let's get back to it. You'll notice I also have my sway bars tied up. I do not use those. I don't run them. I don't like them. I don't like the clunking. I don't like the limit. And again, because I'm doing a lot more rock crawling, they're just gone and out of the way. The next thing over here, obviously you see the winch hanging on. I think that that's a great upgrade. I use that more for pulling people out, pulling over rolled over rigs, things like that, getting people unstuck. That's a pretty handy tool to have. I haven't really had to use it to rescue myself yet, knock on wood, but that is possible. But this is just the Super ATV 4,500 pound winch. Now, with that, I did the full gusset kit as well, and this is something that I think everybody should look into as well, is doing the frame stiffener, because again, you know, getting these things nice and built and strong in the front end, because as soon as you figure out how fast you can go through whoops, you're gonna push it, and this is something that'll really help. So I've got the full gusset kit going on here, as well as the shock tower brace right here from S3. So double shear that, connect it to the frame down below, and you know, I decided to throw on a cheap Cyclopter light here. This is just an Amazon one, but it does phenomenal work. So while I'm standing up here, Super ATV windshield, lots of options there. You don't have to be limited to this particular one, but it's great, no complaints. The manual wiper, I don't need electric. Kimimoto mirrors, this is the BRP Rack up on top. Again, just another cheap light bar. I could do better with that, but that's just what's up there right now. Now, the reason for the rack for me is I want this to end up being more of an overlander rig and store a bunch of stuff up there. Right now, it always has a high lift jack, and it usually has a shovel and some other things up there that I try to keep on hand all the time. Let's keep going here. Mud busters. When you're running big, wide tires, the 72 machines throw so much up. So, you know, I threw these on. I'm probably gonna do some back ones as well, but that's something I would consider pretty much right out of the gate. Kimimoto lower doors, Kimimoto door bags, those come in handy like crazy. I also did like a cheap digital backup mirror so I can see people behind me all the time. And yeah, it's nice because this machine is pretty big. So I threw that on there as well as the extra storage compartment. So I have everything wired down through that thing. And then I've also done the code shooter on this as well. So I can run my tunes on it and upgrade it kind of however. Rock sliders have come in handy. You can see they've got a lot of Moab on them, which is nice. I'd rather bash on those than the plastic. So that's kind of just something a little bit extra. Walker links as well. Again, more flex out of the back end. So that lets me run the rear suspension stiffer because I get a little bit more tip and sway out of this. So it's just a fun, super great ride, especially in the rocks. These make a huge difference right here. I also threw in the Mountain Tech Blowhole because I do heat up belts and wear them out. So that's something that I'm just testing right now. It's been on for a couple of weeks and so far so good. No big deal. Hiding in that box, if you saw from an earlier video, you can point up in the corner if you haven't seen that. I do have the Ibex Stage 3 clutch inside here. And that was clutching done to run the bigger meets. And again, you don't have to do that. I like it for, you know, sand and things like that, just to have that extra engagement. But if you're doing more rock crawling and things like that, you don't really have to worry about it so much. Coming around the back, the Salt Industry radius rods, ZRP pull plate. This is an area of the car that's also really weak. And as again, if you want to look up here at this video, I just replaced the rear knuckles back here. Again, another weak point on these machines, and holy crap, did that make a huge, huge difference. Well worth the money. That's something I can't say enough about. So if you start feeling again like your machine is sort of washing out or doing things that it shouldn't, check that back there, that middle, I guess, toe link on the knuckle. That's probably the problem. It's worn out, and there's a couple of different fixes, but you know, you can do those, drill them out and do things like that to fix it, or just do a double shear knuckle and get it done. So now that all that's out of the way, that's pretty much all of the upgrades. You know, I do have the Exo Gear sound bar. I don't really need big sound in here. That's not really something I'm going for. So that's nice for just kind of hanging around. But otherwise, you can't hear things when they're cranking away. It doesn't make any sense. So again, my whole thing here was I want a machine that's not going to break down when I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I had one like that. It was broken all the time, snapping things all the time. So this has been built to really take a hammering and come back to camp every single time I drive it. I have not had a single trail breakdown. I have not had an axle break. I have blown some belts, but that's quick and easy. So really just being prepared has been the most important piece. Here's one thing that I think is really super important that most people may or may not take into consideration when they're buying a UTV. I'm 6'7". I fit in this machine super comfortably. When I was first shopping for machines, that was my main concern. I can't fit in a Polaris Razor. They kind of top out around, if you're like 6'2", you're probably at the maximum of that. Then you're gonna start bashing your knees against things, and it's just not very comfortable. So this machine, I can stretch out, and not only that, other adults can stretch out in the back, and it just is fantastic. So in all of the machines I've driven, and every single one has its pros and cons, don't get me wrong. Every single one has its pros and cons, but I don't know that I will now ever go away from my Can-Am. You know, probably get another one, and then probably another one, and that's just how life is gonna go. Just upgrade them and, you know, keep this process going because it's just too much fun. So if you have any questions about any of these, anything that was built up on here, I'll put the whole build list in the description below. So here's a couple other things real quick. I do have the bump steer delete kit coming from Shock Therapy, so I'm gonna be swapping out those tie rods, plus a couple other upgrades. So that's just something to stay tuned for, and we'll get out on the trail and test them all out.